Hi, this is Dr. Amona Washington, your instructor for Management 3310. I wanted to send you a quick recap video. I know time is flying by. If you have been, I'm in Texas and we've had some bad weather, so I'm hoping and praying that everyone is safe and sound. We've had a lot of bad weather all over the world. So what I want to talk about is week 5 summary. I am so excited. I'm so glad to read the things that you've gained thus far, because I think it's really important to have a recap of what you have learned thus far, and more importantly, what you have learned and how you plan to incorporate it. We all know the statistics about creating new habits and those things. So you've identified some really cool things that I think will be beneficial for you moving forward in your professional and personal life. And so my charge for you is to consider how you will incorporate it. So some overall things, many of you talked about the 3x3 writing, email, keeping it simple. And so one of the things that was not talked about as often, but I want to address here, is effective listening. Listening is the most neglected form of communication. And this is the reason I think. We're taught how to speak. We're taught how to read. We're taught how to write. But no one really teaches us how to listen. We think because we are in proximity of each other and you are speaking that I am listening. But effective listening is more than having 2 ears and being in earshot. Effective listening is purposely avoiding and ignoring distractions. How many times have you been in a room? I know I'm guilty of this at church. I am listening and then I start thinking, what do I need to do? Did I leave? What do I need to eat for dinner? Or the things that I have to do when I go home when I'm not listening. And so it's really important because listening is, I believe, one of the key components of effective communication. So, and you will know this because we don't do it often, and because when you are practicing effective listening, people are bewildered. Like, are you listening? Hello, especially if you're on the phone. And this happens to me all the time. I am on the phone speaking with someone and they go, hello, are you still there? And I go, yes, I am listening. See, because here's the thing. When a person is speaking, if you are listening, they have finished and you are still processing. But what often happens is someone is speaking, they say something that either incites you or you have something to say or you want to argue that point. So at that very point, that moment that they have said something, you are now formulating your response. And when you are formulating your response, you have stopped listening. You can't do those things at the same time. So you haven't heard the rest of the stuff that they have said because now it's your turn. You want to go back and address something that they have said. So effective listening, ignoring distractions, processing what the person has said. And when the person is finished speaking, it will take you a few moments to process everything. And then think, and at that point, think about your response. What do you want to say? So those are some things. Effective listening, writing. Talked about the 3x3 writing. We are all working in a corporate environment where emails are just the main mode of communication. Changing the subject line, recapping. If you don't have to send the whole email again, change the subject line and then recap or summarize. You can include the rest of the documents if it's an attachment, but get in the habit of recapping. If you can pick up the phone, always do that first. So now I just want to go over some of the notes that I wrote, but great job. I will also make a video on resume writing. I think that's very important. I keep saying I want to make a video on USA jobs. I used to work for federal government, and that was my job, posting USA jobs ads. And resumes for USA jobs or for government is very different from resumes in the civilian sector. So I'm thinking about that. But I will post a video for extra credit on resume writing. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Need my glasses. Clifton. Clifton, you said audience analysis. Real key. I forgot that one. Audience analysis. Understanding who your audience is, what they already know about the topic, and being able to present the information in such a way that you are not speaking over their head, and in such a way that you are not insulting them by talking below. So hitting that middle ground. If you know who they are and what they already know about that topic, you are better prepared. And so you can say things as, well, as you well know, I'm sure you are aware, because you don't want to go over their head or under. Talked about emails. Social media. Many of you mentioned social media. We all may have our feelings about the value of social media, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, we have to know that social media is here to stay. And so we either have to get on the bus or be left behind. I'm not saying you have to be on every social media site and you have to be a master, but you do need to understand and know how to navigate that process. Rocky, writing. Rocky, you said something really good. You talked about expressing encouragement in writing, and I hadn't thought about that. Absolutely, because we live in a world where we are not afforded the opportunity to deal with people all the time one-on-one. So never miss an opportunity to provide positive feedback via writing. I like that. Carol talked about positive language, and this is another thing. Don't tell people what they can't do. Tell them what they can. So here's a real simplistic. You cannot smoke in the hall, in the room, in the bathroom, in the backyard. You can only smoke in the foyer. So instead of saying don't smoke in the hall, in the backyard, in the room, upstairs, only in the foyer, then smoking is permitted in the foyer. Tell me what I can do. Don't tell me everything that I can't do. Is one thing, and trying to use positive language. Oh, and Carol talked about flabby expressions. It's true, years ago we would use these big words and we thought that made us sound smart. It does not. Nowadays, business English, or what is appropriate to use in business, is short, clear words. No longer are these large words, short, clear words. Ashley, I like the way you spell your name. Ashley talked about business strategies, right? She said staying up with technology and using it, Twitter and Snapchat. I think she talked about for her salon and for her customers. Those are things she has to be aware of because she's a business person, business owner. Patrick, know your audience, repositioning, conveying bad news. There's a lot of information about what's the best way to convey bad news. I think it's clearly and upfront, but of course there are other circumstances where that may not be the best, so use your best judgment. Jana, flat organizations, good, bad traits of management, documentation. Jana talked about documentation. Yes, we all know the thing of CYA, but documentation, not so much in terms of, because somebody might be doing something wrong, but somebody might be doing something right, and we want to be able to show that. So you always need to keep documentation. Christina, short and straight and to the point. Clear, succinct messages, I believe, is always the best. Someone can always ask for more information, right? Like if you give some information and there's more additional information needed, then let that person ask for it. Very simple. Marina says, kiss, keep it simple, sweetie. Jerome. Not Jerome. Let me put my glasses on. Terrence. Excuse me. Terrence is transitioning out of the military after 26 years, I think he said. I will tell you, you mentioned that the writing is similar, civilian in the military, and I would agree with that. I think the biggest difference in the transition is the language. You talked about gender specific language. I think we all can, do that from time to time. I find myself when I'm talking about instructors or professors using the word he, I'm a she. So that's something that I will continue to work on. But I think that the process that's the most different is how we handle verbal communication in terms of civilian and the military life. In the civilian sector, we are a more gentler, kinder. We are more concerned about politically correct. Where in the military, we may not be as much. So, overall, great job, guys. I know I'm a little behind on grading. I promise that I will catch up. But I like to read everything. And as I mentioned, I feel like the videos are just better because it gets for me to feel like I'm connecting with you in this process. Hope you guys have a safe and wonderful week. See you next time.